Do you know what happens in your brain when you are reading Gothic literature or when you are watching horror or scary films and series? You're doing more than just entertaining yourself. You are also activating parts of your brain and developing skills that you didn't know you were activating. Do you want to know what those are? Yes, so this is for you today. Hello Gothic friends, this is Alice and you are in Gothic Land, a place where we talk and we learn about all things Gothic while we improve our communication skills and we develop our critical thinking. And that is precisely what I'm going to talk about today, one of the areas. I'm going to talk about 3 skills that you can develop when reading Gothic literature. But before we go into that explanation, I want to remind you, for those who are watching TV series or horror films in original version, you have my PDF, my free PDF download. That is going to help you, it's going to give you some guidelines of what to do, how to improve your language, and how to get your lexicon in one place while you're watching your favorite horror programs. And that is in, you can find that it's free, completely free. That is in my Gothic Alice.com/how to watch series English. Okay, you will find that there. I will put a link anywhere, but I'll remind you, gothicalice.com, one word, yeah, at gothicalice.com /how to watch series English. Okay, so today, 3 skills that that help you improve your language and it help you improve in general, that you can benefit from while reading Gothic literature. The first thing I want to talk about is your critical thinking. What is actually critical thinking? Yes, a lot of people, you can more or less grasp what it means just because of the words, the meaning of the words. But if we go to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, the literal translation, or one of the definitions that they give, is that critical thinking is the careful thinking directed to a goal. I repeat, the careful thinking directed to a goal. That means that when we ask questions, we're going to ask questions that don't just give us opens the door to yes, no answers. What we want is to ask questions that produce an elaborated answer. Elaborated, objective, well quoted, well researched. That is a question that makes us think. It's a question that makes us step out our own beliefs and step out of the box a little bit, and helps us to think beyond our original thought, right? So for example, we're talking here about thoughts that people have in general, sometimes, like urban legends about, for example, the language. If you remember, one of my videos precisely is 3 urban legends that stop you from they get in the way of your English. So I talk about those there. So if you haven't seen it, please go there. 3 urban legends that get in the way of your English. What happens with those? That they stop you from thinking more efficiently, right? Because you have all the choices, you have information to think laterally, to develop different theories by asking questions like why, when, where, how, who. All those questions are going to lead you to think critically. So what does that got to do with the Gothic? Precisely, the Gothic helps you to do that. Why? Because one of the things that it does is to from the origin, it goes from the origin of the stranger, the other. It makes us question where this other comes from. It makes us question the origin. It makes us question why is he or she or it there. So then we also have historic, cultural settings of the story. Why is it happening at this moment? What was happening then? What were the reasons? What are the connections between character, situation? In the Gothic, this is very acute. So that's why the Gothic helps you think critically, because you are constantly trying to figure out why, where, how, who, but also because it deals with topics that normally society tends to repress or to quieten. So the Gothic has got this touch of making the reader uncomfortable, but at the same time this creates some kind of morbid curiosity and makes you continue reading. So it helps you, it gives you different options, it gives you different points of view and different angles, different sides of the story, and that is contributing to your critical thinking. So that's one of the first skills why you should read Gothic literature. And I'm not just quoting, or I'm not just saying that you should read classics only. You should read Gothic literature because we still have a lot of Gothic literature nowadays adapted to our modern times. The second skill that you can learn through the Gothic, identity. The Gothic is a perfect context to work on identity because it questions everything. Again, we go back to the critical thinking idea. In Gothic texts, we're constantly comparing our historical and cultural background with that of the Gothic, with that of the other, with the different origins of the characters, of the monsters. So for example, this happened to me, or it's a very clear example, is Melmoth the Wanderer. Sorry, I'm going to say that properly again, slow down. Melmoth the Wanderer by Charles Robert Maturin. When I was reading this book the first time, I felt that somehow it was kind of talking to me, and I'll tell you why. It's because he's very worried, or he makes a lot of emphasis with the Spanish Inquisition. And as you know, I'm from Spain. So when you are reading a text where you have been mentioned, or your culture has been mentioned, not you directly, obviously, but you as a culture, you have been mentioned, that creates curiosity. When you create curiosity, you start empathizing or disliking the text, depending on what they're saying about you. But what it is true is that the fact that someone from outside of your culture talks about your culture from a different point of view, that shakes you, that makes you question who you are, it makes you think about your past, it makes you see things from a different point of view, and that makes you richer well, it helps a lot to see how the people see you, to get outside from your own self, to stop looking at your own belly button and to say, oh, right, this is how people actually see me, or how people from other countries see my country. I'm going to read a complex paragraph from Maturin, where trying to defend a little bit this Inquisition use, because someone at the time, someone complained about a friend of his. He says something kind of complex, but I'm going to read it slowly so that you can all get the idea, right? He says, justifying a little bit the use of the Inquisition here, he says, I had made the misery of conventual life depend less on the startling adventures one meets with romances than on that irritating series of petty torments which constitutes the misery of life in general, and which, amid the tideless stagnation of monastic existence, solitude gives its innate leisure to invent, and power, combined with malignity, the full disposition to practice. To try to digest this, I know it's a little bit difficult, but what he's trying to say here is saying, I have used this uncomfortable setting of the convent, or he was very worried about the church, religion. So I'm using this context because really people's imagination sometimes can go beyond the reality. In a way, we see this where he says this, I had made the misery of conventual life depend less, so take a little bit of importance on the conventual life, the life of the convent, depending less on starting adventures that are normally connected with the romantics of the time. Think about when this was written. This actually was considered the last Gothic book, so we're talking about the 1800s. And I'll tell you the date exactly in my article, and you will find the exact the information. I didn't write the date because I keep forgetting the years. You know, I'm not very good with years and names. I struggle a bit, but basically, you know, I have to reread it because it's complex and it's a very long sentence. The punctuation is all over the place, and this is one of the difficulties with maturing, that he wrote a little bit chaotic. And also because the stories are a little bit, the stories inside the stories are, it's like a Russian doll. When you read Maturin, it's like this book is like this. So he doesn't want to concentrate on the petty torments that include, that we all understand happen in the life of the convent and Inquisition in itself, but also of the existence, the solitude. Solitude gives its inmates leisure to invent. When one is on his own. He wanted to emphasize this feeling of identity. When you're on your own, who are you? All the things that you start thinking, you start questioning everything as well. So this is what he was trying to do when, apart from criticizing the religion, the Catholic religion, he was trying to investigate. He was playing a little bit with this concept. So this is very important when we're talking about identity, because of the characters that we see in this story, but not just here. In general, the Gothic genre does that. So for me, this was like, okay, I've been mentioned. I can see how others saw my country from outside. It makes you think about what is also your Gothic literature. If you've been used for so many years, you were used as the object of the Gothic genre. At what point do we become actually active in the Gothic genre? But this is another story, okay? It's a very interesting one as well. So another thing that we learn, this is identity. And if you see that identity and critical thinking, they can sometimes, they go there. Critical thinking is everywhere too. So at the moment you're questioning your identity and you're thinking of who you are and why things are this way and not another way, there we go. Voila, we have critical thinking. But also, when we're reading Gothic literature, what are we doing? We are using the language. So in any texts, obviously, when we read, we are improving our lexicon, our grammar, we are getting new vocabulary, yes. But when we're reading Gothic literature, we have an addition, which is that there is an emphasis on certain vocabulary and expressions. So let me elaborate. So for example, if our story takes place in dark settings, or in a dark setting, we will get a lot of vocabulary and adjectives connected to mood, to the landscape, to the weather conditions, variations of themes, monsters, imagery, symbols, metaphors, and a lot of other literary devices. So for me, for example, to give you a direct example, when I lived in the UK, I lived there for 3.5 years. The first 3 years I spent near the Yorkshire Moors. So the first thing I did was to buy, one of the first things I did was to buy some readings in English, obviously. And the readings I bought were these two. These were my first two books. You can tell I'm not lying because of the color of the pages, right? These are the first two books that I started reading. So I didn't decide on something easy. I also read other more up-to-date things that people were lending me. But these were my choice, my selection at the time. And what I found here, not only that the vocabulary was challenging because it's from the 18th and the 19th century, but also in the short stories, ghost stories, it was also that I was missing some cultural, historical information, background, mentality of the time. At the time, I had not done my degree yet, so there was so much missing there. So what this forced me to actually, apart from starting to be more aware of the vocabulary and increasing my lexicon, as I said before, it actually helped me to want to get more information about what I was actually reading and the country I was living in. So all this extra information is important when we're reading. So your language proficiency, when you're reading literature, and in this case Gothic literature, it's very difficult to cover in a normal traditional class. You need to read, you need to be immersed, you need to be working in a holistic way. For example, when I did this exercise of analyzing short stories, I got a lot of vocabulary. Also, the fact that I was living in the place, it helped. I mean, you don't have to be living in the place to get all the to understand better what you're reading, although it does help. But it's true that when I came across Wuthering Heights, because I'm a visual learner and kinesthetic and I have to experience things, when I read that text, I loved it so much because I could see in the descriptions, I could see this vocabulary had a place, it had a home in the moors, because I live near there, I went there, I could still remember the air, the smells, the weather conditions. So sometimes the vocabulary that you find in certain texts that you don't even have in your own language, it helps a lot if you know about the landscape, if you know about the geographical position, if you know about people's beliefs. So there's a lot of cultural and there's a lot of historical element there that is very important. So those are the three, there are more, but three very important skills that you can develop while reading Gothic literature. So you improve in a lot of areas. So the first one is your critical thinking, then your identity. For identity, I've left something behind, not just your identity as your country and where you're from, but also gender, social class, and yes, that's it. So everything that makes up someone's identity, right? So basically, these are the three elements. Yes, critical thinking, identity, and language. I suppose you are thinking now of more examples, and I would love to know what your thoughts are on this topic today. So please write to me, let me know, have you ever thought of how can you benefit from Gothic texts? Why are you passionate about it? Let me know, and I'd love to know your opinion. And if you're working on your language proficiency and you feel like you're a bit stuck right now, remember that you can keep working on your vocabulary, your expressions, written expression, by downloading my free PDF that you will find in gothicalice.com/how-to-watch-series-English. If you want to, because this is just two sides, it's very simple. It's a PDF in English one side and in Spanish on the other side. But if you also want it, you look at this idea and you like it, you can also go to my Ko-fi page. That is ko-fi.com. Ko-fi is ko-fi, yeah, F-I, .com/Alice Gothic Land 1402. In that page, you can actually purchase an 81-page dossier notebook. It's a notebook where you can actually keep track of all your vocabulary for the different series. You have alphabets, you have tips, you have comments. It's a beautiful document I have created. For only €10, you can have this 81-page document that you can use to make the most of your TV series, horror films, even for your books if you want it, because it's got alphabets, it's got tips, it's got spaces for descriptions, for writing your own story. So you have a lot of elements there. So I hope you have enjoyed this. Please, if you are enjoying these videos and if you like my content, I would appreciate if you go thumbs up, if you share with your friends, you subscribe to the channel, and I can keep making some more content for you. Everything that you donate in Ko-fi it's a donation that will go to create more material for learners, but also for teachers of the second language. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed these three benefits that you can have from reading Gothic literature, and that put it in practice. Be aware of what you are learning when you are reading Gothic literature, and let me know. Right, so see you very soon. See you in the next video, and take care, my Gothic friends. Bye bye.